15 years ago, movie audiences were blown away by The Matrix, an action-packed thriller beyond anything Keanu Reeves had ever done before, except, of course, Chain Reaction. The film not only showcased cutting-edge technology, it delved into complicated theories on the greatest philosophical questions in the universe. What is real, and what does it mean to have free will? As the entertainment editor, look back 15 years, why was The Matrix such a surprise hit? Why was it such a surprise that it was a hit?
I mean, it was a surprise because it was not based on any kind of pre-existing, property. It wasn't a comic book movie at the time. It was not a superhero movie. It kind of just existed. I remember seeing the trailer for the first time probably earlier that year in '99. It was just kind of like, it looked fresh, it looked really cool, and you didn't really know a lot about it. And I think Warner Brothers did a great job marketing it, and it had a humongous opening weekend, which at the time was a shocker also because it was an R-rated movie, which we were saying before, I can't even believe it was rated R because there's really not a lot there that's very, risque or anything, especially compared to like what we see in PG-13 blockbusters like Man of Steel or stuff, and it was just a humongous deal, and it kind of had, the reason I think it worked so well is it took a lot of elements from other media and other pop culture things that people loved. I mean, it owes a lot to Star Wars, it owes a lot to, kung fu action movies, it owes a lot,
It's also kind of the culmination of all of these hacker virtual reality films that we had been seeing in the 90s. It was like, finally a movie got it right. It did something original with it. It wasn't just Russell Crowe with something on his face in another universe killing people.
It felt really, just very of the time. And even like after it came out, I mean, this is a movie that made almost $200 million in North America. And even, I remember it was the first DVD I ever bought. I mean, even that, it was like a cutting edge thing where it was like, this is a DVD now because there were not even DVD, it was still VHS.
Right.
So it's like the whole, like everything surrounding this film just felt like really timely and like even like looking ahead towards the future. It was just like a humongous landmark.
One of the things that you said that I want to go back to is that you said it was such a surprise hit because it wasn't based on an intellectual property of some kind before, but that's kind of within the last 10 years.
True. That's true.
In terms of we're expecting something like a comic book action movie to be based on a prior comic book of some kind. Would you say that The Matrix and its sequels sort of set up a lot of the comic book?
I think so. I mean, at the time, we probably had like Star Wars was obviously still a trilogy. Star Trek was a thing that people still liked. Even in the '90s, maybe the franchise had kind of like dulled a little. Before
those were low-budget, next-generation films.
And I think The Matrix did kind of launch into that. Like where it was like, oh, this is a humongous hit that we could spawn off into a bunch of sequels. It was before X-Men, like you had said. It was before all the comic book movies. Batman was still a thing, but even Batman didn't have a trilogy. It was Tim Burton made his 2 Batmans with Michael Keaton, and that was cool. But then by the time the third one rolled around, it was a new director, a new Batman, Val Kilmer's Batman, and then George Clooney. So even with the series, continuations, Superman was really the only one too. But even by then, Superman had died off too. I mean, it was like kind of like The Matrix hit and ended up kind of, I think it did launch that into, and it also helped launch geek culture because I feel like it was the kind of movie where like it spoke to geeks and like was before the word geek became like a humongous mainstream thing.
Right, it would be one of those things where in high school the jock would turn to the geek for the first time and say, so in that, did you see that movie, The Matrix?
Right.
What was going on there, man? Yeah, that was happening all the time. Now, what about movies that were outside of the superhero movies or the movies that studios were using to try to make some more money off of? What about movies that were just sort of influenced by The Matrix visually and special effects-wise?
I mean, the special effects were obviously very groundbreaking with bullet time and stuff, and it was stuff that you had not seen before. I think we had discussed this before, but like a bunch, like even Inception, honestly, I feel like took a lot from what the Wachowskis did in Matrix.
I carry a camera around my neck when I'm on the set all the time. I've been doing since I was 6 years old. My uncle gave me a hand-me-down camera, and I've been shooting pictures for decades now.